I just got home from seeing Audience Scream Unseen, which turned out to be Terrifier 3, and this may become a Christmas staple for a lot of people. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Thank you for sparing your own time out to check out and hear my thoughts on Terrifier 3, which will be spoiler free, so don't worry about being spoiled before you head in to check out this one, because in the UK this releases on October 11th, but I got to check it out a few nights early thanks to my local cinema. And I am a big fan of the first two movies. I have reviewed them both here on my channel with Richard G Reviews. So going into number 3, I was really excited. I heard that they were going to set this one around Christmas time, and it's been a while since we've had a horror movie set around the Christmas festive period, so that alone is certainly going to cause a lot of intrigue for a lot of horror fans. So going into Terrifier 3, I was excited. I was wondering, well, how are they going to develop this story, because the second movie leads off on a cliffhanger, but also sets up a lot of lore and world building, and we get introduced to our main final girl, Sienna, played by LaVera, and this one only develops that lore even more and delivers the brutality that Art the Clown well and truly knows. This movie is a lot of fun. There's a lot of positives, and there's a few negatives and gripes and nitpicks that I've got, which we'll get into. But firstly, to go into the performances, we've got the returning cast of LaVera, we've got David Howard Thornton back as Art the Clown, we've also got Samantha Scaffidi as Victoria, Elliott Fullam as Jonathan, and many, many more, with a lot of new faces and including some cameos from famous people in horror that you will recognize. And this is a brutal, gory torture fest. For anyone that loves the first two movies, you're in for a treat, because you can tell the budget has been stepped up. The practical effects looks more real than ever, because at times in the first two it looked a little bit rubbery, and that's not a nitpick, because I actually really love that, but you can tell that the budget has gone into making that more brutal and more realistic. And there was parts I was like, ugh, that's nasty. And there is one particular scene, if you're a male, yeah, that's all I'll say in that particular scene, and that's probably the most gross out scene you'll get in Terrifier 3, but that's not to say that the other scenes aren't, because they absolutely are, so be prepared. And I will definitely say this, it might sound obvious, but if you've not seen the first two movies before going into this one, please do yourself a favour and check those out, because everything that's been built up into there leads straight into this one. But I also love that this time around they go more into a character study journey. Yes, you've got everything that the other two movies do include, but this time around we see our characters suffering from the effects of what's happened to them in the past and how that's changed their daily lives, which I can only commend the writing and directing, the filmmaking by Damien Leone, and how he's developing our characters, how he's giving us more context as to what these have been up to, because this one is set 5 years after the events of Terrifier 2. So in that time, as an audience, you're going to wonder, well, what's been happening? And those answers are definitely given in here. The performances are definitely better than we've seen before, purely because we have our cast who have a lot more being asked of them this time around. Of course, Sienna surviving Terrifier 2, she is struggling with her everyday life, so that means LaVera has got to give more of a serious, more of a committed performance in how she is dealing with everyday life and the trauma that she has suffered. But not just her, but also Elliott Fullam, who plays Jonathan. He also has those same feelings and trauma that he's experiencing, and how that's really messed with their mindsets. And again, I love that element of Terrifier, but then I have got to commend here David Howard Thornton. Now, I was fortunate to interview David Howard Thornton. You'll be able to catch that video as well in the recommended at the end. But what I really love about his performance the most in Terrifier 3 is there is some particular scenes where I was really creeped out by the guy. And not to say I haven't been in the first two outings, but this one in particular, in a certain one or two scenes in particular, they take more of a serious approach and more of a really menacing, sinister approach with his character Art the Clown, where even if he's just simply doing movements with expression through his eyes only, and it's so emphatically done, I was like I generally was like that, and I don't usually get like that in horror movies, but something about that guy's performance here is really great. But then he also gets to lean more into the goofy side, and I think people's going to have a lot of fun, because even in the goofy side, so I went with my partner Emma, who absolutely loved this movie, by the way, and we were in pretty much most of a packed cinema, but a few people did walk out at the beginning. Clearly they didn't want to see this movie, and we found ourselves chuckling quite a lot of times. There's definitely a lot of dark humour. If you enjoyed that in the previous outings, you're going to have a blast with that here, because there's times we were just laughing at the screen. We were just fully embraced and sucked into this world that we were invited into once again. Even our newcomers and cast that we're included to this time around are also really good. They add more to the story. They also give us more context as to, again, what's been happening in the past 5 years since we saw our characters in Miles County. The music accompanying is also done really well. The set locations, just everything about this movie has improved tenfold over the past two outings, and there's just so much to really rave about Terrifier 3. But I am going to go into a few nitpicks where I still really love this movie. I do kind of prefer it to the second one. There is elements of the second one I prefer over this one. Ultimately, just so you guys know, the first Terrifier is my personal favourite. I just love the simplicity of that movie. But with this one, so it is going to leave you with more questions than answers. Yes, we get more world building, we get more background and more context to the story, but you don't get all the answers here. So if you're hoping for that, it's not going to happen. And that's not necessarily a bad thing or anything like that, but as it's more of a nitpick, because I still feel like 3 movies in, we've gotten context, but we still don't know the full story at this moment in time. And I personally wanted a little bit more answers. And the other little kind of minor nitpick that I mentioned is, as I mentioned before, they make Art in about 2 or 3 scenes here really sinister, maniacal, and really just flat out creepy. But then a lot of the time, for me personally, I felt like they undercut him a little bit with more of the silliness and goofiness that he has in more of his scenes, compared to that sinister tone, which I really wanted them to keep a little bit more, because that was ultimately, for me, more effective. But like my partner was saying to me, when he is the goofiness, it's more like him performing, whereas when he's not doing that, it's more like him strictly being like the sinister maniacal presence that he is, which I completely get, and it's a great and fantastic point, but I just personal preference anyway. But my overall score for Terrifier 3 is going to be a 3.5 stars out of 5. Have you seen this one? Are you going to check it out? Let me know down below in the comment section so we can continue the discussion down there. If you don't know about my Patreon, you can join today from only £2 per month. Link down below in the description box. Big thanks to all these awesome legends who help to subscribe to Patreon. Now, in the meantime, if you haven't seen my review for Terrifier 2, and if you also haven't seen my interview with David Howard Thornton himself, well, click over here, have a bit of a deep dive. Till next time, I'll see you guys. I'll be seeing you later.